Welcome to Top 5 Wednesday here at CSD Fantasy. This week I'm looking at the top 5 wide receivers in the fantasy playoffs, weeks 14 to 16. My 5th highest ranked wide receiver is Keenan Allen. He faces Washington, Kansas City, and the Jets, with the Jets being the peak in his schedule. Allen's own play trends favored the game against Washington due to the reason that he plays better at home compared to on the road. With Kansas City and New York, who are terrible against wide receivers, his full playoff projection is 43.1 over the 3 games. His Week 14 projection against the Redskins is 13.9, which can help you progress into your semifinals. Next guy up is Antonio Brown. He faces Baltimore, New England, and Houston, with Houston being the peak in his schedule. Brown's own play trends favors the game against Baltimore and New England since they are at home and teams are above 500. He performs slightly worse on the road against teams below 500. However, the Texans are so bad against wide receivers that if you get to the final with AB on your roster, you will be in pole position. He is projected to score 43.2 fantasy points over these 3 games. His Week 14 projection against the Ravens is 11.6, which is pretty darn low. Coming in at 3rd, we have Michael Crabtree. He faces Kansas City, Dallas, and Philadelphia, with Kansas City being his schedule peak. Crabtree's own play trends favors the game against Kansas City because he tends to play better against teams from the AFC compared to NFC, and he's a little bit better on the road than at home. His own projections are pretty stable, but faces a good Eagles defense in the final, so he can help you get there, but might be okay to sit well while you get there. His playoff projection is 43.2, and his Week 14 projection against the Chiefs is 15.6, which is pretty good. At 2nd place, why not have the legend Larry Fitzgerald? He faces Tennessee, Washington, and the Giants, with the Giants being his schedule peak. Fitzgerald's own play trends barely favors any type of game. He only moves 0.2 points from an above 500 AFC team at home versus a below 500 NFC team on the road. This is extremely impressive to be this stable and average above 10 fantasy points against any type of opponent. His playoff projection is 43.6 points over the last 3 games, and his Week 14 projection against the Titans is 14.2, which is also pretty good, but not as good as Crabtree. At number 1, the one and only Julio Jones. He faces New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and New Orleans again, with Tampa being his schedule peak. Jones' own play trends are difficult to showcase here since he plays roughly the same type of team all 3 games, but we can see that he prefers the home game and the game against the team below 500. Both Tampa and New Orleans are weak against wide receivers in general, and Julio being Julio, he is projected to score 43.9 fantasy points in the playoffs. His Week 14 projection against the Saints is 14.5, which is pretty good, but still not as good as Crabtree. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more weekly content. And as always, the spreadsheets are dark and full of terror.